Paul, that Ireland was a huge fan of open borders. They didn't want any form of border controls at Brexit, didn't want any form of border controls that contravened the Good Friday Agreement, nor the Common Travel Area, nor the Brexit Withdrawal Agreement. But now they're seeing a huge spike in the numbers of asylum seekers, 90% of whom they claim come from the United Kingdom. They seem to have changed their tune.
Well, yes, Martin, you're right. That, but in some respects, this is partly due to the current government and Rishi Sunak trumping on about they're not going to accept people back. Now, Downing Street acknowledges that there's the Irish refer to it as Operation Sonnet, which is a 2020 agreement between the UK and Ireland, whereby each country would return asylum seekers over the open border. And what we've now seen is Rishi Sunak saying, we are not going to take these people back. Yes, there is an agreement, but it's not a legal one, so we're going to not honour that agreement. Now, that's the background to why the Irish have said that they're going to send the Garda north. It's important to remember that they haven't said they're going to put fences in and they're going to mount checkpoints, because as we know, given the troubles in Ireland and Northern Ireland, that would be unacceptable to both parties. But one has to share some sort of or have some sympathy for the Irish, given that as far as they were aware, there was an agreement between their government and our government to accept people back. And it seems to me that Rishi Sunak is desperately trying to make an issue out of this. I mean, I think he's been a hostage to fortune in this regard, because I think it was at the weekend they were all patting each other on the back and crowing about the deterrent effect of Rwanda, in that people have gone to the Republic of Ireland, and so therefore the Rwanda scheme was working. Obviously, as we can see from your screen, yesterday was a record day for migrants arriving. And it looks like there are more migrants arriving this year than there was in 2022.
Yeah, but Paul, if I could interject, you could equally argue that the Irish institution are cherry-picking from international agreements. That's what Rishi Sunak has claimed. The one minute they want open borders, the next minute they say that's not working out for them, so they're deploying police. And it was their decision, Paul Turner, you must admit, it was their decision to say they would not accept the terms of the Rwanda deal, and therefore the United Kingdom was not a safe country. That was their decision. That wasn't Rishi Sunak's decision. And so now you could say they're being hung by their own petard, because they made their country singularly safe in the eyes of people flooding over the border. This is on them, not Rishi Sunak.
Well, in that regard, Martin, I'd agree with you. I think that, yes, that is a consequence of what has happened. But this is a consequence of the Irish High Court finding that the UK is not a safe third country. Much the same as the Supreme Court in the UK found that Rwanda was not a safe third country. So, yes, the Irish have got there by putting us in the same boat as Rwanda. But you are right. This is a consequence of, well, I would say it's a consequence of the Irish adhering more to their international obligations than we are, and, yes, making themselves more attractive to people that are very desperate.
Yeah, and now, Paul, suddenly, when it's going down like a cup of cold sick with the Irish electorate, who are absolutely sick to the back teeth. We've seen protests across Dublin. We've seen arson attacks. We've seen ordinary families being branded as far right by the leaders, by the police, by the media. They simply want to take back control of their borders in the face of an overwhelming public revolt against a very unpopular policy from the leadership. They're suddenly acting tough because they know, Paul, that there are elections coming up in June, European elections, and the pro-strong control of borders parties are expected to make safe gains. And suddenly, the Irish institution realised they may have backed the wrong horse.
That's one way of looking at it. It's an entirely reasonable way. Another way of looking at it would be that the Irish are only in this position because Rishi Sunak is seeking to undo the 2020 deal, which would have meant that the UK could have taken people back. And the 2020 deal was essentially post-Brexit. So Rishi Sunak has scored a point, if you like, by playing tough with the Irish, but it's not doing us any favours.
Why should we take people back from Ireland when we can't send people back to France? If these international treaties and obligations exist, surely it must work both ways.
Well, Ireland's not France, and there is a common border and a common history, very close one. And there is an agreement that, as I say, is referred to as Operation Sonnet between the UK and the Irish, where to facilitate the common travel area, which we share with Ireland, which we don't share with the EU. And that's an important distinction. We have this common travel area, including the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland. And in order for that to work well, the UK and Irish governments reached an agreement which was enforced by Operation Sonnet, whereby they could, irrespective of EU laws and EU conventions, return people from both sides of the border. So, yes, I can see at first glance why it's good for the goose, good for the gander. But the UK and Ireland have a very close and special relationship and have reached an agreement which Rishi Sunak is seeking to undo, and I would say undo for political reasons.
Well, I made my point that it was the Irish Premiership's decision to declare the United Kingdom wasn't a safe country, and some may argue, Paul Turner, you reap what you sow. Nevertheless,
Martin,
thank you for joining us.
Pull you up on that, Martin, if I just pull you up on that. It was the Irish High Court, not the Irish President. I think they were very unhappy with the High Court's decision.
But the deputy premier blamed the UK and presumably could have overturned that legislation or done something about it. They chose not to, and now here we are in a border standoff. Paul Turner, we simply have to leave it there. We've run out of time. But